Hello and welcome. This is Nordic Larp.org reporting from Prolog 2018 at Swedish LarpCon. And with me I have Maria and Kim, who's going to talk a bit about fancy LARP in Sweden. So if you want to introduce yourselves.
Hello, my name is Maria Rodén. I come from outside of Malmö. And I've been LARPing for roughly 20 years now. I've been organizing a lot of LARPs as well. I do mostly fantasy LARPs, but I also do other different kind of genres like post-apocalyptic, sci-fi, everything, more or less.
Yeah, hello. My name is Kim. I come from Borås. It's a town east of Gothenburg, and I've been LARPing since 2003, I think. So it's a while now, and I've been LARPing most fantasy. Historical LARPs, but also little post-apocalyptic LARPs as well. Been trying vampire LARPs as well. So it's mostly those genres, but it differs. Yeah, most of those. Yeah.
So fancy LARPs I would say they have a common style in the Nordic countries, but we're going to focus on Sweden here. So which format would you say a typical fantasy LARP has in Sweden? Like the length of it, play style, like walk me through what a Swedish fantasy LARP is.
If I could start, I would say that a classical fantasy LARP is about 4 or 5 days. It starts on Wednesday or Thursday and ends on Sunday. And usually you have 1 day to prepare for the LARP and 1 day to go home and pack your stuff together and go home. And mostly you have a village, the town where the fantasy LARP is the central place in the LARP is the village. And there you often have, what do you call it, where you eat?
Taverna
or restaurant or something like that, where you where you drink and get together and meet people. Yeah. That's the setting, but maybe you have more to.
Yes, and most of them are like the summer season, roughly from like May to September. But they also have like weekend LARPs in the rest of the year, which starts on Friday and ends on like Sunday. And typically you write your own character. The organizers provide a setting, like you are in this place because of this. It could be a meeting, it could be something else, it could be something happening. And so you have these frames you work from, and then you decide what character you want to play. Sometimes you have some characters that you want someone to be this kind of character, maybe you want a queen or a queen, maybe you want someone who owns the taverna, and stuff like that. So it could be different characters that you want, or otherwise you can write your own totally. And most people also make their own clothes. We like to sew, we like to craft. I would say that's pretty common in Sweden. And we often use like materials like wool or linen because it's sometimes cold and rainy and windy country, so it's good to have wool and stuff.
I would also say that the classic fantasy LARP is often based on Tolkien's world. It's based from the Tolkien world, and then it kind of evolved from that one. So you have the classical themes, the elves, the orcs, the humans, and mostly on the LARPs it focuses on the good against the bad, evil and the good. That's kind of the classical theme. And a common thing is when you sit at the taverna in the evening talking to people, then the evening comes to orcs launching an attack on the village. That's a classical setting, but most people in Sweden have getting used to that, so now it's beginning to evolve from that to more complex themes. Well, do you agree?
Yeah, that is a bit of classic. You kind of joke about like, in the evening the orcs will come.
So speaking about the orcs attacking, one cultural difference between fantasy LARPs in the Nordic countries and in other places seems to be both how combat and rules work and the sort of part they play in the games. Would you like to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I can, because I would say that we are not that like rule heavy. I mean, I am organizing sometimes a LARP called Heart of War, Krigsjätte, and we have like 11 pages of rule set, and that's considered heavy rules in Sweden. And we also have a lot like play to lose mentality. It's okay to lose a fight, it doesn't matter, as long as you get a good game out of it.
Yeah, and also I would add to this that in the Swedish LARPs we also play a lot by the rule what you see is what you get, and when you play you often play to get the other one to experience a scene you play to get a scene, and that is the more important stuff, not how many body points you can take or how heavy your armor is. It's more important the experience as a whole, and if you follow the story, that is important. To follow the storyline and not get ahead of yourself and just that works.
We also use like latex weapons, or Kalimazid weapons is pretty big here. That's the most common kind of weapons, or arrows with bows and arrows, like we shoot at each other for real. And we don't use things like spell packs or other those things, and you don't call damage either. I mean, if I hit someone, I hit that person, and they play on the damage. And we don't have. Usually, you play on the damage. If I get an injury, I play that injury, but maybe not for too long. But I do it during the battle, and we often have few hit points. In one LARP I play, I might go down on 1 hit or 2 hits is pretty common. So it's not like I have to, I've been hit that many times, and with that kind of hit, we have it pretty simple in that way.
Yeah, one thing you can think of is what if you get your arms cut off in real life? What is going to happen? Can you still fight? Probably not. And that's about this when you fight. You fight as you would fight in real life. So if you get hit on your foot, you probably scream a lot. You don't go on and continue fighting. That's not gonna work.
And that also means the medics, you can play a medic in the game and have a pretty good game. And some people are really serious about this. They have they put makeup on, special effects. Sometimes they put up a tent for taking care of people that have injuries in game. And so they can be a really good and serious game about that as well. And we have, you can say we divide fantasy LARPs more or less in high fantasy and low fantasy in Sweden. And low fantasy is pretty down to earth, no magic, maybe only humans, playable as a playable race. While high fantasy is more like you have elves, orcs, or other kind of races. Then you also have more magic. And you can sometimes use magic in the battle, but mostly then you usually have some kind of spoken magic, no spell packs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and one thing that differs from international LARPs and our LARPs, especially fantasy LARPs, is that we don't have a judge or anyone judging how the battle is going to go. Not even the organizers know how the LARP is going to end, mostly. They don't know that. And they don't know how the battle is going to end. So it's up to the players to decide, and it's up to the players to act like the battle was really. Yeah.
So you spoke a bit about what you see is what you get, and the costuming and aesthetics. So there seems to be a very high level of costuming and how props look at Swedish LARPs. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I would say it's a high level of costuming. We use we try to use many authentic materials like wool, leather, linen, and we have a long craft tradition. You learn in school to sew and things like that. So we have a long craft tradition, and since we also make a lot of clothes and stuff, you can also buy it second hand, much easier.
I think when you focus a lot on your role and what you're gonna play, it's also getting important to know what you're gonna dress your character with. So if you know your character, you also want to dress the character appropriate to your traits or what the profession of your role. So it becomes more and more important when you get to know your character. So when your character is building up after several LARPs, you want to build that character for like a real character, like in real life. You want to get it as real, as close as possible with the clothes. And also the clothes making before the LARPs, I think that is kind of half the thing. It's a building up phase to the LARP. You're building up your energy to the LARP, you're getting excited and you talk about your characters and you can talk to other people about your characters and your clothes and what the character is going to wear and when it's going to wear what clothes. So I think that's part of the LARP process. It's really very much the clothes and the costume. Because it's also a part of what you see is what you get, and you want to believe what you see. You want to believe that Maria's character is really if she's an elf, she's going to look like an elf. Otherwise, I'm not going to believe it. And it really strengthened the experience for other LARPers as well, when your characters feels real for me and for other people.
Yeah, and for example, if I play like a rich character, I want to be able to make clothes change during the LARP. If I'm playing a poor character, maybe I'm weathering my clothes, they should be a little bit, they should be dirty, maybe they should look like they have stitches and they have like been torn apart and stuff like that. So it's also part of the process, like thinking how should the clothes look, how many times should I change clothes. I mean, I have characters where I can change clothes every day if I want, or even maybe twice a day. And sometimes I use the same clothes for the whole LARP because it's fitting. And sometimes I can play the same character, but the setting of the LARP, different LARPs will be different. So on one LARP I'm using this kind of clothes because it's good for the setting and wear my character. And on the next LARP I'm playing the same character and then I'll wear maybe my much more nice looking clothes because it's maybe a party or something like that. So that's also part of it.
Yeah, and especially on fantasy LARP, I think it's very much important what you wear, because if you play a character which is not real, a fantasy character like an orc or elf, you really want to make other people believe it, so it's getting more important than if you play authentic LARP nowadays with the present time LARPs. That's not as important, because if you want to see the orc, you want to feel like the orc is real. Yeah.
And that also goes for the camp and the villages. Like, if I'm sleeping in game, I should look in game. I can use blankets. If I have a sleeping bag, I hide it under a blanket so it looks like a medieval camp or a medieval bed. And the villages, they are like really simple villages with small cottages of wood. And we don't use electricity during the LARP. We don't have showers. The toilets are really simple. Maybe not even running water in the toilets and stuff like that, so it's really basic.
But I also think that you want to add that even if you have this kind of, it feels like it's a lot of pressure on you to get these fancy clothes or fancy weapons or fancy camps with all this authentic stuff. It's not like you need to have it. It's more like you want to have it. But it's not necessary. You can participate even if you have simple clothes, simple time, because I think also, especially in Sweden, we are mostly, at least, welcoming other people to want to join. We want to be more. We want to be welcoming to other people. So it's not like we're looking down on those with bad equipment or bad clothes. It's more like maybe I should start with a character that is fitting for my level of crafting or my level of experience. So in the beginning I was choosing my characters just because of the clothes I had home. So if I don't have the fancy clothes yet, I can play a character which is fitting for that, because otherwise people are going to look down on me and like, why are you dressing like that and playing a role which is different from your clothes? So it's more appropriate, I think, beginning with the character that fits your clothes. Make it simple for you, because if you do that, you see other people, then you want to go and evolve your character with more stuff. That has happened a lot.
So you mentioned earlier the typical length of like a weekend to half week, and you also talked a bit about playing the same character, different LARPs. How would you describe how a typical LARP campaign works in scope and scale in the Swedish LARP context?
Well, I can begin, and sometimes a Swedish fantasy LARP have one main LARP of the year. That is the LARP. So mostly it's in the summer, like Maria said before. It's in the summer or in the spring or maybe autumn, but mostly summer. And then when you have the campaign, it probably goes on to the next year's LARP. But sometimes you have small LARPs, like weekend LARPs. On the whole year you can have small LARPs on the weekends. It's a part of the campaign and it's part of your experience. So you still have your own characters, and that characters can follow you from LARP to LARP. Like weekend LARP, you play your character. Next year, coming back as the character of the main LARP. So that's how it works.
Yeah, and I'm active as an organizer in 2 campaigns. One is Heart of War, Krigshjärta, and on that one we have a big LARP every second year, and we have smaller LARPs that take part in different parts of the LARP world. And on those you can sometimes play the same character and sometimes not. You can change. I have between 5 to 10 active characters in that campaign, and we usually have 2 to 4 LARPs each year in the campaign. And the other campaign I'm active in is called Company Ringen, the Duel in the Ring, and it's a Viking-inspired LARP. And that one we have one big main LARP in the summer, almost a week, and then we have 3 smaller LARPs during the year. And in that campaign, most people play the same character on every LARP, and also in between. Sometimes you write text and you're chatting and talking about what is my character doing now, what is happening in the world. And the organizer group put out happenings in the world, now this is happening in the world, how will your characters react in this. And if you want, you can send in, my character is doing this and my character is doing that. If you want, you can also only go participate in the summer LARP and don't care about the rest of the year if you want. And I think that's the fantasy LARP that has the most classical campaign in Sweden, and we have up to 4 LARPs each year. Otherwise it's like you mentioned, usually have one big LARP every year, and that's considered a campaign.
So, and how does character progression work? You spoke about developing the character between LARPs by chatting, and so what are the things that are retained if you compare it to sort of traditional tabletop role-playing games or LARPs in some other contexts where you have XP or levels?
Yeah, we don't, in fantasy LARPs we don't use the XP or level system. I don't think we have any Swedish LARP that use that. But so I'm more developing my character in the Duel in the Ring key, Company Ringen. That character I have when I started to play it, I had some kind of idea what kind of character I was playing. I'm playing some kind of fighter, Viking fighter, I'm doing this. And now a few years later my character has been married, I have a kid, I have new friends, I have new enemies and stuff like that. So it's all in the story. So I'm developing the story, but I don't have any levels or something like that, because I decide most for myself what I want to do in the frames of the LARP.
Yeah, I think we get inspired by the table of board games, so you get inspiration from them, like the body system when you hit, when you take battle or when you go into battle. We get inspired by those games and board games, but we don't use them as XP or levels when you go from one LARP to the next. It's more like, what does your character want from one LARP to the next? And what is your character going to do? So I think it's actually the same as Maria said. I started off with one character, which was very young, and then after a few years, she got older and smarter and got more stuff. She got richer, and then that is kind of the traits that evolve. So it's not the experience or the levels or the points that evolves. It's more like the traits you have in your character that evolves, and you get to know more people and expands the character's universe. That is the stuff that evolves.
And sometimes, it doesn't need to go good for the character. You can go downwards as well. Some people like to put their characters in deep shit. So I mean, we have some characters. Most characters they get richer, they get better. But sometimes a character you can decide, I want to do the other way. I want this character to start at the top and end at the bottom. And that could also be really fun play. So you can often decide that as well. So I mean, it's not that I'm not winning by having the most successful character. I'm winning by having fun.
Yeah, and most times you actually have more fun when you you're starting up here, and then you downgrade yourself a bit, and by getting your characters in more tricky situations and in more problems, you evolve your character, and the more experience you get your characters to know, the more fun you have. So do more stuff at LARPs. Do more. Or I would also say that do more stuff that hurts your character, and don't build a character that is so much alike you. Because when I first started LARPing, I did the mistake of making characters that was most similar to me, and that doesn't evolve the character at all. Because I cannot evolve myself on the LARP. If you play a character that can evolve, probably that character is similar to you. Or at least that is my experience. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I have some parts of me in the character.
Yeah.
I have some traits I often use, and I have some traits that I avoid in the characters. But I could have really different characters. And sometimes I used to say that the player is the character's greatest enemy.
So, I know campaigns like Heart of War, Krigshjärta, and Thule, and some others have had international participants. If anyone who watches this want to come play LARPs in Sweden, do you think it's possible for them, and how would they do it?
Yes, we have had people speaking English, like in Campaigningen, the Duel in the Ring, and most people in Sweden at least understand or talks pretty good English. So I mean, you can come, you can play an English-speaking character, and then it's like, that character is just speaking another language. It doesn't have to be a big deal, but it's good to have some group or something to be a part of, so you don't get left out of the game by mistake. Because sometimes if everyone is chatting in Swedish around, you might get a feeling of being a little bit left out. But if you are a part of the group, then it's easy, because then the group can make it easier to get involved and stuff like that. So I would say it's really possible.
Yeah, I agree. It's really possible, and we want you to come. We really want you to come, because when you have characters from other countries, it gets the LARPing universe more big. Yeah, it's easy as that. We want the characters to evolve, but we also want the universe to evolve, and it does that if we get more players from other countries with more experiences. And also, if you want to start, I think it's a good way to start looking at the webpage and then find out, is there a Facebook group or an event or a chat forum or something where you can participate and ask questions directly to the organizers, and you can also find your group there. So if you don't have your group already, as Maria said, you can find a group or ask for a group in the Facebook page or the Facebook group or chat forum, especially designed for the LARP in question. So I very much agree that going for the first time, you want to do it with a group, because you can feel more safe. You have your friends or your friend, but you can also go by yourself. But you need a bit of more. I think you need a bit more social. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a little bit more active involved, and also going with a group also means that you don't have to the logistics. Often the group solves the camp stuff together. So if you go with a group, you can also probably borrow some gear from people, because due to this crafting tradition, many people make their own costumes or buy them. People also tend to have a lot of costumes after years. I mean, I could, without problem, dress up like 5 or 6 Vikings if I wanted, because I like to make clothes. So that's also a good part.
Yeah, I think also if you don't have these clothes or costumes that you need, you can also ask for that. The organizers often know people that can borrow you clothes, or they can probably borrow you clothes or getting you to sites, especially web pages that you can go to. And also, if you find your group on the Facebook page, you can find your friends there, and you can find inspiration there, because often people putting up pictures on the Facebook groups, and that is really nice, because pictures making things more real, and you can get inspiration from other people before the LARP has actually taken place. Okay.
So, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
Come and join us. I think so.
Yeah, I think that's basically or a part of it at least.